So our main news this morning, and teachers' unions have failed to find a resolution with the government over their ongoing industrial action.
Yes, officials at the Department for Education spent 6 hours negotiating with union leaders, but failed to find a compromise over resources, salary increases and working conditions.
So teachers will now go ahead with their walkout in England and Wales on the 1st of February. Further dates are going to be announced pretty soon, so we're told.
Yes, joining us now to look at the latest developments is the former Special Advisor to Michael Gove, Charlie Rowley. Good morning to you, Charlie, and thank you so much for joining us so early.
Morning.
So no progress on these teachers' talks yesterday, 6 hours of negotiations.
Yes, I think that'll be disappointing for parents right across the country who have already seen over the last 2 years their children's education disrupted because of COVID. The last thing anybody wants is to see further disruption, and that's obviously what the unions have balloted for and what will be happening. 6 hours is a very long time, and everybody would have hoped that there would have been progress, but it might not have been the case on this time round. But hopefully those conversations can continue and we can find a resolution to ensure that pupils continue to get the education that they deserve.
I mean, at least one thing you can say for the government on this, they are actually talking. They are meeting and talking. Well, I mean, obviously, some of the criticisms with, what they've been doing with nurses and what have you, is that they just haven't been talking enough.
That is a criticism, and I think, people will have sympathy with the nurses and those on the front line of the NHS, again, because of what we've all seen through COVID, huge disruption, and it was doctors and nurses and ambulance workers and paramedics that all on the front line that were dealing with something that nobody had ever seen before in a global health crisis. So those conversations obviously do need to continue, but as you say, it's absolutely right that these discussions have taken place within the DFE, Department for Education, just as they're taking place for the Department of Transport, and everybody hopes that by the end of continued conversations, everybody can find a bit of compromise, given the economic situation that we all find ourselves in, and we can keep things going.
Do you think a resolution can be found in terms of the teachers' strikes? Because, looking ahead to the 1st of February, it looks like a day of coordinated strike action. It's going to be a huge day of disruption across the country. But for parents and for pupils especially, there's going to be great concern about the teachers' strike because it, of course, impacts on a child's education.
I think that's absolutely right. And I think, nobody wants to see a cynical, coordinated effort to bring this country to its knees through coordinated striking effort. I think everybody recognises the difficult economic situation we find ourselves in, which means that the government just can't afford above-inflation pay increases, which is what some of the unions are asking for. I think what we're seeing in terms of the economy, progress being made, and we need to see that continue to get inflation down, halved by the end of this year, as the government has set out, to ensure that actually that helps with people with the cost of living, including teachers, doctors, nurses, rail workers, and the whole public sector.
Can we talk about the government's credibility, which is I don't know how badly it's been affected by the seatbelt fine, right? But it certainly doesn't. The seatbelt fine doesn't help, does it? Well, what do you make of all of this? In that, how daft can you be? How do these things work? He said, what? Rishi Sunak will have had a SPAD, a special advisor, which is what you were, in the car, saying, let's do a video about where we're going and levelling up and all the rest of it. Let's do a video. Oh, no, what will they have said? Oh, no, that's not right. Just whip your seatbelt off, Prime Minister. The angle isn't quite right. Will they have said something like that?
Well, it's a fascinating question because I remember in a previous role, even before working for Michael, I was with Theresa May, and it was a lot of media and events and operational and logistical work that went into the role that I was doing. And, look, it's unfortunate. The Prime Minister's apologised. He said he'll pay the fine. But I might be in a minority of one, but whether it's the Prime Minister or the Leader of the Opposition, you have to, I think, give them a little bit of leeway when you're going from event to event, from visit to visit. You're getting in and out of that car 6 or 7 times if you're doing a speech, then a visit to a factory, or then going to do a Q&A session, or then going to a local members' event. You're in and out the whole time. And in between those visits, you are either taking phone calls, you're getting a briefing on the visit you're about to do, there might be an international call to make, or you're going to do a social media clip to tell the country and to tell the particular area that you're visiting why you're there, and talk about the success of what the government's delivering. Now, within all of that, he forgot to put a seatbelt on or failed to put a seatbelt on.
Or took it off to film a clip.
We'll never know, but I suspect it's probably more the former, I think, just because you're in and out of that car more than most. And as I say, would give him a little bit of a break, just as I would, and I would apply that to the leader of the opposition or anybody that's in high office because of the nature of the job and just the demands that they're under. But as I say, it wasn't right. He's admitted that. He's held his hands up. He's taken the fine and apologised, and I think the country can move on to talk about issues that really matter to people right across the country.
Yes, but 2 police fines in a matter of months for now a sitting Prime Minister. I mean, at best, that is an open goal, isn't it, for the opposition? It's easy pickings.
It is. It's embarrassing. Look, Rishi, who is a brilliant communicator, who I know has an effective communications team, they will be, kicking themselves this weekend, to be frank. But they'll bounce back next week. They'll come back stronger. It won't be an issue that dominates, I think, too many conversations over the breakfast table. And as I say, once the government gets back to dealing with the issues that really matter to people, that's when we'll see the success of why Rishi is the Prime Minister and why people continue to support him.
I guess one thing that's been learnt, in a sense, from some of the mishmash around Boris Johnson is that, well, they've said, well, yes, clearly, there's been a breach of the law here. I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's on camera, right? It's been investigated. He's been made, given to PCN. He's apologised and paid it, right? So it's done and dusted. And I get what you're saying about it. It's almost tomorrow's chip paper, in a sense. That doesn't apply to Nadhim Zahawi, does it? Because the issue is here, and the Labour Party calling for him to go and all the rest of it, because he's been accused of paying a penalty as part of an investigation into his taxes. What we don't know with this is that no one's saying a great deal about it apart from his taxes are up to date, which is, it doesn't really give us much of an answer, really, as to what has gone on. Is the way to clear this for Nadhim Zahawi to actually outline what has gone on here?
Well, I think you're right. He, has said that all of his taxes are paid up to date. He pays his taxes in the UK. I think this relates to a company that he founded even before he came into politics.
Yeah.
So it's been something that's
YouGov, isn't it?
Exactly, and YouGov is a polling company, and I think the government would rather not have any more polling companies at the minute, the state that we're currently in. But that aside, I think this is a historic sort of business that was created long before he came into politics, and so I think there is a question over when you're in public office and in public life when things go a bit wrong. That yes, you might have questions to answer, but I think it seems to me that the matter's been settled.
But wouldn't transparency be better? Because like the Guardian's saying, he paid a 30% penalty. Right, so a penalty means you weren't up to date, but now he is. So wouldn't the transparency be better on that? So at least we can go, right, this is what happened, we can judge him on that, rather than all this speculation that there is.
Well, I think he's been transparent in the sense that he's been very, very open, that he's paid his taxes in the UK and he's up to date. And, there might have been a dispute that goes on between the company and HMRC. I don't think that's unusual in a sense if you're self-employed or if you are a big company where you have taxes that you will go through your accountants, you'll have conversations with HMRC. I think what people want to know is that his taxes are up to date, they're fully paid in the UK, and that the matter is closed.
Yeah.
Charlie Rowley, thank you very much. You're back with us in the next hour, aren't you? Yeah. So, God, we're in a right state this morning.
What a pair we
Losing
are.
our voices, coughing.
You're as well to keep your distance, Charlie, down there, to be perfectly honest.
But he's coming back, so don't send him away.